Okay, let's talk about Sndy Hk, An American Tragedy and the Battle for Truth by Elizabeth Wllmsn. 2022 nonfiction book by New York Times writer Elizabeth Wllmsn, all about the Sndy Hk shooting that happened on December 14th, 2012, where a gunman killed 20 first graders and 6 adults. I am not somebody who's reads stuff about mass shootings. I'm not somebody who reads stuff about the gun control, the gun problem in the United States. These are really depressingly familiar arguments that just come up news cycle after news cycle after news cycle, and cause just kind of that sense of despair. This is not something that I would be interested in reading a book. It is really that battle for the truth part of this subtitle that drew me to this, to listen to it as an audiobook. And even then, it took me a while to get through it, because this book is definitely showing how Sndy Hk became sort of one of these foundational, kind of almost a model for how the mainstreaming of spreading false and malicious conspiracy theories for various reasons became widespread, became just an accepted part of political culture, both in the United States, in Canada, in the world. Wllmsn starts out, I think, putting this book on a solid foundation of describing the actual events of what happened on that day, the lives of the children, the 20-year-old shooter, the parents' grief. I think this is the only time I could ever say that I was looking forward to us moving on to Alex Jones, because it was such a heartbreaking and horrible thing to read about. But I mean, I think it's really, you need that foundation of this is actually what happened, told by a professional journalist, to have a basis for what happens next. Because what happens next is pretty rapidly conspiracy theories started being put up for various motivational reasons. This book definitely focuses on Alex Jones of InfoWars as sort of almost like this hub of all the conspiracy theories. He big on YouTube, big on social media in general, where he was able to spread and amplify and hone these messages that boiled down to that that Sndy Hk didn't actually happen, that these children weren't murdered, that it was some kind of fake. It was false flag. It was actors pretending grief afterwards, and using all sorts of just patently nonsense stuff that, for various reasons, people, were able to glom onto and spin off on these just bizarre fantasies. I think the book does a good job of breaking down the various groups involved. There is just the big thing of gun control in America, and like, how do you answer 20 dead children politically, saying like, no, we should still all have guns, we don't have any restrictions, or very light restrictions and stuff like that. You answer that by saying it didn't happen, which is just like, we're just going to deny reality, and that's going to be our stance to have that's how we're going to support our political stance. So there's the political side. There is the grifter side. There is people like Alex Jones, who basically fed the audience what they wanted to hear. Wllmsn shows him on his shows taking calls from people and getting his audience slowly kind of pushing him to more and more kind of wacky conspiracy things, because he saw, this is what sells. This is what I can sell all the crap that he sells on his site and make a ton of money off of it. And, I don't think you can look particularly deep. I think Alex Jones is someone who will just say anything to get what he wants. There's zero kind of conscience, zero kind of a, a decent human being under all of that. It is all about the audience. It is all about, the grift. And then you get people that we definitely sees in the book harassing and attacking the grieving parents of this shooting, and attacking other parents as inevitably more and more shootings come up, attacking them, threatening them, chasing parents down the street, grieving parents, telling them that their children didn't exist and that they should die. It's just, it's like, it's probably a vanishingly small minority, but just genuinely mentally ill people who've sucked up this message because of whatever their own damage is, and that doesn't make it any less reprehensible what they did. And this is all, I think a part of what this thing is like, this is all enabled, magnified, that small minority, Alex Jones, the political right, feeding this kind of a propaganda to its people, is all fueled by the social media, including, as I said, YouTube. YouTube was definitely a part of this. I mean, Facebook gets a lot of heat, but I mean, YouTube is equally as so, and are largely indifferent at the beginning to efforts, pleas by the parents to actually kind of like, they're slandering us, they're libeling us, they're motivating mentally ill people to come and find us, are largely indifferent to actually enforcing any of this, basically because it's profitable. Hate is profitable. Outrage is profitable, and they're in the money business. They're not in the truth business, as it was. So yeah, but in this book, it also shows that a lot of the main battlers for the truth are some of those parents who, understandably, I'm sure the majority just try to kind of keep the fuck away from this just for their own sanity. But some actually form groups to like fight misinformation, to pressure the largely indifferent social media platforms to actually enforce their own rules, or basically shame themselves into it. And they've shamed them in very specific areas and ignored all the rest. They're still definitely going on. And in the latter parts of this book, suing Alex Jones, continually suing Alex Jones, and winning out, over this, whether that is actually going to finally extinguish, silence, or minimize Alex Jones. He has gotten driven off of most of the kind of social media platforms because he specifically is a pariah. He's being kind of hung as a blame, but there's plenty of blame to go around. And I mean, the larger context for this story, and what Wllmsn does a really good job of showing, is that you get the kinship, the bromance between Alex Jones and Donald Trump. Both of them supporters of each other as Donald Trump becomes this political force. Alex Jones was very much there, probably as much as as Donald Trump probably would be distancing himself from Alex Jones now. But both learning kind of the lessons of how to exploiting and creating false narratives to fuel anger and hate is profitable, monetarily, profitable power-wise. I mean, Jesus, the most power that an individual could get in the United States. So, this is not a book that I would usually read. This is definitely me pushing myself out of my boundaries. But, I'm fascinated by the spread and use of information by bad actors. And, how not an insignificant part of the population is not only vulnerable to this, but seems like almost eager to want to believe the lies that they get comfort out of this, whether it is about mass shootings or various other things, that they want to believe these narratives. They satisfy them on a thing. And I read probably now last year I read Shire's The Rise and Fall of Nazi Germany. And so, this is not a new thing. And I don't think it's even new to the Nazis. But, the Nazis were probably the first great users of mass media to spread and control and to shape a bubble that people live in, to get them to do what they want. I mean, and the addition to this is, once they rise to power, is to use brute physical force against their population, so that even if you know this is bullshit, you also know you're going to get shot otherwise. And I mean, I think that's the thing as we're getting into all this at the moment, with great political, the legal troubles of Donald Trump. Is that going to actually prevent him from rising back into power again? And will, if given a second chance to hold on to power, will he ever relinquish it again? So that's, I think that's why that's why I picked this book up, and why I think this is actually a really important book to read, because it takes this case study of this event, and really lets you know, who these children, select who these children were, an idea, a picture of who they were. It doesn't lose that. It doesn't lose that, knowing who the children were and the adults that died were. Don't lose that, but also understand. And this is what got. This is how they were. Their memory, their tragedy was twisted, and how many people still today believe the bullshit that was peddled by people like Alex Jones, and the bullshit that is still being peddled by people like Donald Trump. So don't listen to this bozo on the internet. But check out this book by a goddamn professional, employed by one of the top news organizations in the country. And I know that the people that have fallen victim to this kind of bullshit, that's exactly the person they wouldn't listen to, but is actually the person they should be listening to, at least in my opinion. It's like, if you want to go for sources, go for somebody who's actually, a trained journalist who has, knows you need to get a various sources. You need to get the actual proof. Do not go to a website that just confirms your own biases. That is not the way to do things. But I don't know. Be critical, but be open to the truth as well. It's a conundrum, not one that obviously I'm going to solve, or that Elizabeth Williams is solving here, but has shown a really good example of it, and unfortunately, I think one that will continue to be relevant as the years go by. All right, that is Sndy Hk, An American Tragedy and the Battle for Truth by Elizabeth Williamson. More videos later.